Hey YouTube, what's going on? It's Adam here with Retro Repairs, and I got another quick repair video for you today. So I recently picked up this Sega Saturn system here. Bought it off a guy that said it wasn't sure if it worked. He found it in his mom's basement, and I figured it's been there for a while, so we're going to take a look, see what happens with it. So I already know as a fact the Saturn works, but this controller was a little kind of dirty and doesn't really seem to respond nicely. Mainly this button here doesn't really click and it kind of creaks. So we're going to turn this on and see if see what happens with that controller. So to do so, we're going to test it using Virtua Fighter 2, and I'm pretty sure this game uses the shoulder buttons, so it'll be a good test, I guess. So first thing here, press start button. Oops. Oh, now it seems to work. Let's try that again. I've pushed it a couple of times, so it's a little bit flaky. These buttons seem to feel okay, but I think this shoulder button's gonna be bad. Gotta really push it. See out the bottom there it says pad type A? Gotta really push it hard for it to work here, otherwise it's kind of hit or miss. Top of this one, well, apparently we've started here, but you get the idea. So let's crack her open and see what we're looking at on the inside. So, opening up these controllers should be pretty straightforward. What we're gonna do, flip it over, and it looks like there are 5 screws here to remove. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And they use a fairly small Phillips head screwdriver, so get your small screwdriver out and let's remove those screws, and we'll fast forward along. Okay, so with those screws removed, we can flip this over and those screws should come out. If they don't, you might need to just grab them and twist them a little bit. You might have a thread or two still connected. There we go. So there are my 5 screws. Now this should come apart just like so. And we look in the inside here and you can see it's pretty dusty, pretty dirty. So we're going to give that a wash. Little fun fact for you, you might like, or you might not like actually, is you see all this stuff on the inside here, all this stuff that connects, especially in here along these edges, the seam between the case pieces. A lot of people think that's just dirt, and it's actually not. Part of it, yes, is dirt and dust and stuff, but another part of it is rotten, decaying skin cells. So yeah, pretty nice. If you got an Xbox 360 controller, go grab that real quick, pause the video, take a look at those seams between the case pieces, and look how gross that is. I guarantee your controller looks pretty gross. So a lot of that is rancid, decaying skin cells. So good idea to do this to controllers, even if you're not having problems with them. So this was the shoulder button that we were having trouble with, and it just didn't really push nicely. This one moves real nice. This one, not so much. So let's take this apart, see what it is that we're looking at here. So this should pretty much lift straight up, just like so. And this is the Sega Saturn controller mainboard. So actually pretty interesting design. A lot of controllers you get are going to be sort of a one piece, and this is actually 3 pieces, which are held together by these jumpers here. So I guess the back shell does a good job holding it in place so that you don't get weak contact, but I could see that being a bit of a design flaw in providing a point of failure. Other things to check out, this cable, it looks like can be removed, which is handy. We're going to give this a test. So all of these buttons seem to push nicely. The issue just, I guess, was some dirt or stuff kind of preventing this from moving the way that we would like. So anyways, let's take all this stuff apart. These are the conductive pads that almost all controllers you ever see these days, or all retro controllers anyways, will use. This is the start button. Looks like someone took a bit of a bite out of that, but it is what it is. These are all kind of almost spring-loaded in here. See, there's this little plastic tab here, which I find quite interesting. I hope this comes out. I'm gonna have to kind of play with this and see how this comes apart. So, interestingly, this whole part comes out. And yeah, underneath there's more dust, dirt, dead skin cells, you name it. So this is how this whole button assembly looks, and it's really, I just find that really weird. That might make it kind of difficult to clean it nicely, but let's see if it does come up. So we can lift this right up off the posts, and you have to be very careful that you're not breaking it. And this is usually the part of video I break something right after I warn you not to. So if that does happen, I don't know. There we go. So there are the top three buttons, your X, Y, and Z. And then these are the bottom three, your A, B, and C. So we're going to take all of these out, give them a good wash, and clean them up nicely. Oh, there we go. Look at that. That one broke right off. It almost seems like these are... I don't know why this is like this. It almost seems like these are the... this is the mold that they were printed on, or not printed, but they were molded in, and they're supposed to break off like any old model car you might buy. But I think maybe it also ensures that they are put in the proper orientation. Kind of holds them in place, but I don't know, kind of odd to me. But let's get them ready to be washed. This, I don't know how this comes apart, this D-pad, so I'm also going to have to kind of play with this a bit to see what I can do. But this is the shoulder button, and it moves. It's just really dirty and gross, so all of this just really needs to be cleaned. So I'm going to try and see what I can do on this D-pad to get this apart, because this definitely needs to come out. I think, yeah, there we go. You actually just pull this inside part straight up, and then the D-pad falls away, and again, underneath here we got more grossness. So fill up a sink with some hot soapy water, grab all the plastic parts, and just let them soak nicely and loosen up some of the dirt and grime and general crap. So while that shell is soaking in the hot soapy water, we're going to turn our attention to the board and these conductive pads here. So what you're going to want here is grab a piece of paper, grab some isopropyl alcohol. 99% is the best stuff you can get. Well, best stuff you can usually get. A lot of drugstores will sell this right on the shelf. If you live in a state or a country where you can't buy this, you can use 70%. Just, it takes a little bit longer to dry. There's more water content to it, so you want to make sure it's drying nicely. Then you need some Q-tips. So what we're going to do is start with this board here. What you want to do, get your Q-tip wet with alcohol. Every one of these black pads, just give it a good wipe down. You want to get up any dirt, grime, little skin bits, you name it. You want to get that off. The way these pads work is by having one of these conductive pads here bridge a connection between the two. These are actually, I think, graphite pads here. So it completes a circuit, sends a signal that, you know, A button's being pushed or B's being pushed. So just give them a good wipe. If you see any corrosion on them, you might need to kind of spend a little extra tension on them, but otherwise this looks pretty good. These buttons push nicely, but again, I'm going to just get some alcohol in there. You can also use contact cleaner for these mechanical switches like this, but just really want to clean it out. They were registering a touch, just the buttons were kind of seized up with dirt, so I'm not overly worried about these working properly or not. And then what you'll also want to do is, while you have this apart, give some attention to the cord. So I'm going to grab just a towel here, dunk some alcohol on it, and we're going to clean the length of this cord, see how much dirt and stuff comes out of this. So not horrible as far as cords that I've cleaned before. A little bit of dirt there, but it's always nice to get it pretty clean. And then the last bit is going to be this strain relief part right here. This is another good place where gunk likes to collect in there because it's hard to get to. You don't touch it very often, you don't clean it. So grab your toothbrush. Preferably don't use your normal one that you use every day, but I mean, if you do, that's entirely on you. Load it up with some alcohol. Just give it a good scrub. Try and get as much of that dirt, grime, skin flakes, you name it. Get it out of there. We want to make this look as good as we possibly can. It's not going to be like new, but we can undo a lot of the wear that's been put on this thing over the years. So that's about that for the board. So next we're going to turn our attention to these conductive pads here. These same steps can be used on pretty much any type of retro game system or retro game controllers, as they use the same type of thing. So these pads get dirty over time and they need to be cleaned. So what I like to do, once again, I'm going to use a Q-tip with some alcohol on it and just give each of these a good kind of once over. You'll note there's a lot of black stuff coming up on these Q-tips. Now, that's not a bad thing, or doesn't mean necessarily that they're full of dirt, but I think it's a bit of the coating on these. So you can clean these a couple times. I wouldn't go nuts and clean them all the time, but every once in a while will be fine. Next step is take your paper here, and just kind of push down and rub it on the paper about 4 or 5 times. You'll see that it leaves streaks there, but that's making a more even surface on this. And once again, I don't think that you will get away with doing this all the time, but as an occasional, I mean, this came out 25 years ago-ish, so 24, I don't know when this came out, but every 20 years, definitely more than okay. Okay, and then same thing with the D-pad. Move the paper, get some clean spot. And then don't forget the start button. So when you're doing these, don't push too hard. Because you don't want to actually break this. If you tear the rubber on this, you may as well just go buy new pads. You can buy replacements. They're not expensive, but if you can keep the original ones, that would be obviously ideal. Good opportunity now to go in and clean these buttons, especially the start one, as the start button is what people actually touch. So this is probably filthy. So give it a good cleanup with Q-tip and some rubbing alcohol. You know, sanitize it for once in its 25-year life. Clean up any other kind of dust, dirt, skin flakes, cat hairs, who knows. All sorts of stuff collect on the back of these. Okay, so now that those are more or less done, let's go check in on the case parts. So you can just grab a piece of the shell, give it a good look. You're gonna want to rinse it off, get the soap up, but there are gonna be spots that you can't get into, or that haven't come clean. So around here, inside these, you're gonna want to use your toothbrush. You're gonna want to get around all of the edges and inside the buttonholes. So I'm going to get scrubbing and we'll show you what these look like once they're dried off and clean. And so we got all the newly cleaned parts out, so we need to give it a good thorough dry. Let it air dry after towel drying it, and then we will go to the next. So now the next part of this is certainly an optional step, but it's not a bad idea to do it if you really want to make your system look better. So I'm just getting a little bit more dirt out of there that I missed earlier. But anyways, yeah, so this next step is kind of an optional step. I could put this back together right now and it would probably work just fine, but I want to make it look a little bit better. So I'm going to use a product called Plastex. Now, Plastex is meant for automotive purposes, and it's used to restore the shine to plastic parts on your car. No reason that it also wouldn't work for glossy video game shells like the Sega is known for. So we're going to try this out. We're going to put a little bit right on there. Grab yourself a nice dry lint-free cloth, spread it out, and just kind of go to town giving it a good buff. Supposedly, I believe you can use this over top of printed on logos as well. It shouldn't rip the logo off, but if you notice any problems with that, just stop, because you don't want to take these Sega or Saturn logos right off. So keep going at this, circular motions. How this works is there's little grits in here that very, very, very finely sand away at the glossy finish, and it'll help restore the shine to it rather than showing big ugly scratches. It's kind of the same way that headlight restoration kits work as well. It's basically just sanding down the gloss. So once you got that worked in, grab a dry side and just gonna buff it out. Now you might need to do this a few times, especially as there are quite a few scratches on this. So I'm gonna do this probably 3 times, see if it makes much of a difference. Okay, so I've got, did that a couple of times and I'm not sure if it made any difference or not, but I got one last step to do, and that's your Armor All Car Wax. You can get other brands, of course, as well, but this will help kind of add a final touch to it. So you don't need a lot. That's kind of a lot. But same idea, just going to work it in. Gotta find somewhere to put all this. Whatever, we'll just work it into the whole thing. Hate it when it gets all over your hands. And that's what we got. So I don't know, if anything, looks a little shinier. Let's put it together and see how it looks all put back together. Reassembly should be pretty straightforward. Let's flip this guy over. Make sure that it's all nice and dry. There's no wax bits sitting anywhere, and I don't see that, so I got a little bit. There we go. That should be fine. So let's flip it over and begin putting this back together. So first part I'm going to put in is this D-pad. That's going to kind of sit here, but you're going to use this little cross piece, and it's going to go in place and hold it together. So This D-pad kind of just floats here. It's not really the best design, but I don't know, it is what it is, I guess. Next on the docket's going to be your shoulder pads. So I think this is this one. There we go. They only really fit on one way, so if it doesn't feel like it's going in properly on one side, just flip it to the other side. Next, we've got the 6 buttons here. So XYZ should be pretty straightforward, and then push that down on this little post here. The trick here is, for me, is going to be A, B, and C, and it's not really that tricky, but just making a note that I did break one of them. And this B, don't know if we can really pick that up here, but it's still got a little bit of grime inside of it, so I'm just going to use my toothbrush with some alcohol on it. Just give it a good scrub. I want to make these look pretty good. Dry it off. That looks better. So let's throw that in place. A, B, and C go right there. And then this goes right on that post right here. Holds it into place. The C button, this one came off this little plastic unit. So we just want to make sure that when you put it on, the C is the proper orientation. So it is here. Now, let's get the conductive pads into place. So the start button, I don't think it really matters the orientation of it. Not really. Your D-pad, there's this little slot here, and this is supposed to go over top of this right here. There's a little post sticking up, so that holds it at the proper orientation. And then same thing with the ABC XYZ pads. It goes like that over top of this bottom post. Whoops. This post right here. So just like so. Now grab the main board, and it should fit into place nicely. There are some posts that kind of line this thing up so that all the buttons work. You're just going to have to kind of play with it to get it the way it's supposed to be. I think that's okay. And then your strain relief, plug it into right there. So that should be good. Oh, sorry, right. Yeah, just like I had it. So now, pop the back side on. Make sure everything's kind of flush together. And make sure that these buttons feel like they're good, and they do not. See how it's splitting apart and these buttons don't do anything? So it means take it apart and try and line it up a little bit better. So let's see what's not cooperating here. Okay, so I think that's better. Just the trick again, making sure that these posts are lined up in these holes. There's a little notch at the bottom of this middle part of the board, and there's 2 little posts that stick up that'll go right in the middle of the notch. But now these shoulder buttons are lining up with those triggers, so let's try this again. Put it all together. that feels better. So let's screw it together and we'll give it a test. Actually, one thing I want to do quickly is try and give these a bit of a clean. You see how they're a little dirty as well? Should be able to just use toothbrush, scrub a bunch of that off. Now, when screwing these back together, good practice is getting them lined up in the hole first. Let's try this one. Get them lined up in the hole, and then turn your screwdriver backwards until you feel a thread right there, and then you can screw them in. And that'll screw it in a lot nicer. If you try and just drive a screw in without lining up the threads, you run the risk of stripping it and ruining the casing. So I'm going to put all the rest of these in and then we'll give it a test. So let's try start. Start seems to work pretty well. Let's go to arcade mode. My dog here wants some attention. I think she wants to go out, but a little upset that I took her bone away because she was making just too much noise while I'm recording, but she'll get it back in a second. Let's see. Push these buttons lightly, and you see at the bottom left, pad type A shows up. Same with the left shoulder button. Pad type A. Looks like these buttons are working nicely, so is that so? I'll give her bone back. And let's just go into a fight quickly, make sure that this seems to be good. But otherwise, I think this controller is now fully functional. That's block, okay, that's kick, or punch, that's kick. These buttons don't seem to do anything. Shoulder doesn't really seem to do anything. Up, left, right. Yeah, it seems to be fine. So definitely looks like we've repaired that controller. So that's going to be it for this video. We've got a nice working Sega Saturn controller now. This is the first generation version of it. They remade this controller to look a little bit nicer with the second generation system. But either way, these aren't too common to come across by these days. So nice to get a working one to go with this Saturn. So that's it for today. Appreciate you watching. Thanks a lot. Be sure to leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think. Like the video and subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you next time.